What's up, guys? This is Mike with Advanced Firearms again. Just wanted to do a little how-to video today on how to disassemble your Glock handgun completely. Not just a field strip. I'm talking about taking all the pins out, removing the trigger housing, pulling the firing pin, all that good stuff. What this video is mainly designed to do is teach you how to completely disassemble your gun, so you can do some of those modifications like replacing your factory slide release or magazine release with aftermarket parts without having to contract a gunsmith. Now, quick disclaimer, if you are not a gunsmith or do not trust yourself to do these armorer type things, go ahead and take it to one. Being that if you connect something wrong or don't put something back right and you attempt to fire the gun, you could damage the gun or, more importantly, yourself. And, well, let's just face it, that's not good shooting. But anyway, what we've got here today is my Glock 26 9mm Generation 4. This video should apply to most other Glock Generation 4 handguns. All the parts should be in the same places, as well as most Generation 3 handguns. You will notice some differences with the captured guide rod and spring and the reversible magazine release, but other than that, the video should be the same. The only one I'm not 100% sure on is the 30S. And that's because it's a little bit different design than most other Glocks, and B is that I don't have one. I've never actually taken one apart to be able to tell you if the parts are exactly the same. So let's get started. The only tools you'll need are a small flathead screwdriver, and if your punch is small enough, you probably don't even need one of these, as well as just a small punch. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, doesn't have to be the special Glock Armorer's tool, just a small punch. So let's get started. So let's go ahead and do a safety check. The gun is loaded. So we'll remove the magazine. We will unchamber the live round. We'll go ahead and lock the slide back. Do both a visual and physical inspection just to ensure that the gun is safe. We've got a safe gun here. We'll set these aside. Alright, so to begin, we're going to actually do a simple field strip. So on the Glock, that's pull the trigger, grab the slide, pull it back just a little bit, drop the slide lock, push the slide forward, removing it from the frame. There we go. Now I can finish disassembling the slide. We'll actually pry up on the guide rod here, take our guide rod and spring out, and then just pull the barrel right out. There we go. This is where you would normally stop if you're just breaking the gun down for general cleaning. You go ahead and swab out the barrel, maybe oil the internals here, as well as just kind of wipe any soot or anything out of the slide. But like I said on this video, we're going to take it a lot further. So to begin, we're actually going to go ahead and do a full disassembly of the slide. So we'll set our frame and our other parts aside, and we'll take our slide, and the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and take out the firing pin, as well as remove the ejector and the back plate. So first step is remove the back plate. How we do this is if you look right here underneath the striker here, if you push the striker forward, you'll notice there's a little black collar in here. You're going to want to take your screwdriver, put it right between that black collar and your striker, and you're going to want to push down on it. What that does is that relieves the tension off the back plate and is going to allow you to slide the back plate right off. So we're going to push down, slide the back plate right off, and I just kind of leave my thumb over there so parts don't come springing out. We'll remove the back plate, and then we'll take the striker here, push it straight back, and remove the firing pin assembly. And while we're on the back plate here, we'll go ahead and remove the plunger that holds the extractor in place. So all we do is we just pull that little plunger out, just like that. Set that aside. And then while we're here at the extractor, we'll go ahead and pull the extractor out. And all you have to do for the extractor is the little plunger here for the firing pin safety. We just push that right down, and the extractor will fall right out. So we'll push it down. There we go, just like that. And then to go a little bit further, while we're here at this plunger, we'll just go ahead and pry that out. As you can see, there's just a little lip under there. We just take our screwdriver, push it right out, just like that. Make sure the spring stays with it. So there you go. That's complete disassembly of the slide. And we'll revisit these parts down here. To completely disassemble the plunger, it's as simple as just pulling the spring out, put it back together, push it down and rotate until you hear the light click, and that's it. Now, on the firing pin, what we'll do is we're pull down on the spring enough to expose the two collars here that guide the spring, and we're going to want to remove those, and that'll help us pull the spring off. So like I said, we'll pull down on the spring. Helps if you push it down on something. Pull down on the spring. Oh, look, one of the collars just fell off. And we'll pull the other one out. And there you go. And now that'll let the spring come right off the pin. And then we just take the collar, remove it off the firing pin, and there you go. That's a completely disassembled firing pin, as well as a completely disassembled slide. Alright, so now we're going to want to move on to the frame. So we'll set these parts aside. Now, what we're going to want to do to disassemble the frame is we're going to punch the 3 pins out first. We've got our trigger pin here, our locking block pin here, and then our trigger housing pin back here. We're going to push them out in that order. The easiest way I find to remove these is to actually just take your screwdriver and actually just kind of lean the front end of the frame off onto it, just like that. That gives you a little space underneath here. Gives you a little space underneath here. So whenever you actually go to push those pins, they actually have somewhere to go, as you know, not into your bench. So we're going to remove the trigger pin first. The easiest way to do that one is we're going to take our punch. We're going to apply pressure to it, and as we're applying pressure, we're going to manipulate the slide release here. That's going to help to work that pin right out. So we'll just push it down, manipulate the slide release, and there we go, right out the back, just like that. Next pin, this will be our trigger pin. Just light pressure, push the pin right out, just like that. And last but not least, our trigger housing pin. We just push that one right through. There we go. Alright, now that all the pins are pushed out of the frame here, all we have to do is remove the locking block. So all we do for that is take our screwdriver, slip it right underneath there, pull straight up. It's going to slide right out. Oh, and also knock the magazine catch out of the way. That'll just pop right off once this is out of the way. Slide that up. There we go. Alright, now the last step is going to be to actually just remove the entire trigger assembly. So we just grab right here, pull straight up. And there we go. And the last step is going to be to remove the slide lock right here. All you have to do is take your screwdriver, and we're going to push down right here on this little spring, apply pressure, and once we do that, all we'll have to do is rotate the the frame sideways, and it'll fall right out, just like that. Then we can go ahead just to go a little further, and we'll stick our screwdriver underneath there and pry the spring right out. See? There we go. Alright, now the frame is completely disassembled with the exception of the magazine release. Now we're actually going to go ahead and take that out because it is a little bit more complicated, but all you do is there's a small metal rod in here. Let's see if we can get it on camera. There it is, this metal rod right here. All you do is you pry that up, and then you reach down in here with some needle nose pliers, pull it out, and the slide release falls right out. Alright, so now we'll set that frame aside. Alright, now that we got the trigger assembly out of the gun, we're going to go ahead and disassemble this completely. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the trigger housing, hold it in one hand, take the trigger and connector bar, hold it in the other hand, and you just want to rotate this 90 degrees around, and it should pop right out. You might have to lift up on it a little bit. So we lift up, rotate 90 degrees. It'll pop right out. Now you could go as far as disconnecting the spring from the trigger housing, but without needle nose pliers it's almost impossible to get back on. So we're going to leave it disconnected just like that, and then what we want to do is we're going to take our screwdriver and we're going to pull up on the connector, just pry it out and pull it right out, just like that. There we go. And there you have it. That is a complete disassembly of your Glock Gen4 handgun. Now we're going to put it back together. So to start, just reverse order. We're going to put our connector back in place. It just slides right into this little hole here. Slide it back down until it's flush. Now we're connected. Now to push this back, we just push it back down in the trigger housing, rotating it back 90 degrees. And then we're just going to let it ride right into that little hole right there. Now we're going to take our frame, take the full trigger assembly, just lower it right into the frame, making sure the trigger makes it into the trigger hole. And we're just going to push the whole assembly down. Alright, now that we're seated, for good measure we'll go ahead and put the trigger housing pin back in, just to make sure we don't get this misaligned. And all you do is you just set this back in here, and you just reset the pin with your hand. pushing it in until it's even on both sides, just like that. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and insert the spring that holds the slide lock in place. All you do is you just slip it right back down to the little hole that you pulled it out of. Right there. It only goes in one way. So we set it in place, and then we'll just take our screwdriver and we'll seat it. And then we'll put the slide lock back in place. Now if you notice on the slide lock, you'll be able to see right here the marring on it, where it's actually been contacting the slide, and the back side's clean. So we're going to always put the clean side forward, because when the slide comes forward, it's hitting this and it's causing that mar. So that'll help us know what direction it'll go. Alright, so all we do is we slide it in, hold it in place. So all we'll do is we'll take our slide lock, we'll insert it about a quarter of the way, we'll push down on our spring here. So what we'll do is we'll take our screwdriver, we'll push down on our spring just like that. We'll slide the slide lock up at an angle to where we get it over the spring. And once we're over the spring, it's just as simple as pushing it in until you hear the snap. We'll ensure that it works properly. Springs back into place. We're good. Alright, then we're going to take our locking block. We're going to slide it right back into place, straight down, just like that. And then once we've got that in, we're going to take our our magazine release. We're going to take the spring side up, and we're just going to insert it into the little gap right here between the side of the trigger and the side of the locking block. And it's actually going to slide up underneath the locking block. So in we go, just like that. Make sure it falls into its little recess here. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to peer down the hole there for the trigger block, for the trigger pin, and make some adjustments until you have a perfect line of sight right through the center. And then we're going to take our trigger pin, slide it back in. Might have to kind of make slight manipulations to get it to seat right, along with manipulating this lever. There we go. We just put it in until it's flush. And then the last pin will be our our locking block pin. We'll just slide it right in just like that. Push it until it's flush. And there we go. The frame is completely back together. We'll set that aside. We'll move on to reassembling our slide. So we've got our slide. Same thing, reverse order. We'll take our ejector plunger, our firing pin safety, and our ejector itself. We'll reset the plunger, and now while holding the plunger down, we'll reinsert the ejector. Ejector only goes one way, and when you release it, it'll actually hold the ejector into place. All we do, spring side back, reset the ejector plunger. That's all you have to do for the ejector. Alright, so now we're going to take our firing pin, we'll take the collar, slide it back around the firing pin. Only goes one way. We'll take the spring, slide it back around the firing pin. Now what we'll actually do is use part of the slide to help us reset these two collars. So firing pin normally goes in this way. We're actually going to slide it into the frame this way. And we'll just use that to hold the spring in place while we reset these two little collars. So pull down on our spring. Take our little collars. And there we go. Now that the firing pin is completely reassembled, we'll turn it the right way, slide it back into the slide. All that's left to do is reset the back plate. Easiest thing to do is get it started. Use our screwdriver to push the collar down enough to give us a flush surface to slide the back plate across. Slide it up to the ejector plunger. Push down one more time. And there we go. Now the slide is completely reassembled. Let's put our parts back together. So we'll slide our barrel in. Then our guide rod and spring. Now Now it's all that's left to do is reinstall it back to our frame. We'll line up the rails in the frame along with the rails in the slide. Slide it straight back. Cycle the weapon. Make sure that we're fully reassembled. Reinsert our magazine. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comment section below or even send me a message. Thank you.